All right, guys, welcome back to Boots Come in Pairs. Kind of had some cool viewage this week with our short views. One of our shorts had like 400 plus views, so kind of cool to see a little traction there, especially if you don't want to watch our full video. But yeah, if there's any suggestions that people want to see for stuff, we're definitely open to it. But just fun to see a little bit of traction on stuff, and hopefully everyone's enjoying the content we're putting out, especially as baseball's starting. I think that's part of it too. It's just we're ready for baseball, although this weather sucks. And to our point last week, this is why baseball is not played in the spring, because it's raining and games are getting canceled.
Yeah.
But first week of games, we have a decent amount under our belt already. Cubs have a very tough schedule to start. So we'll start with them. What did you think of the first couple of games for the Cubs in Texas and then coming home to play Colorado? The Yuckies.
Well, starting your season off by playing the world champions is not the easiest thing. That offense is just loaded. People talk about the Braves offense, but the Rangers offense, the mixture of speed and power and average and on base, they're a very intimidating lineup. They have a mixture of veteran and younger players. You got Adolis and Seager and Semien up at the top. You got the young guns and Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford and Josh Young.
Wyatt
And then
Langford, I will say,
whoo,
is fun. He does not look like a rookie, but yeah.
no. I mean, that's a college player for you though, an established college hitter and outfielder, and someone who shot through the minor leagues very quick. He was a Texas Tech guy. Plays very high level of college baseball, and it is translated. He's very impressive. And then obviously you have guys like Jonah Heim and Leo De Tavares. Like you have a really good offense, really good defense. Pitching, you got Nasty Nate at the top of the rotation, who is still nasty, still pitching great. The rest of the rotation is I don't really know about as far as how they're gonna finish up. They got Dane Dunning in there, who's decent. They threw Cody Bradford the other night. I thought the Cubs should have hammered him, but they didn't. John Gray, not really sure about him anymore. They're not the same Rangers starting staff that they were last year. I think pitching is going to be an issue for them until they start to get some healthy arms back. But I thought the Cubs really held their own. Steele was pitching really well until he popped his hammy. Hopefully they'll get him back in May. Hendricks got beat around. He didn't look great. And then who started? Was it Wicks? I think Wicks started the next game, which they had an offensive explosion. So good test for the Cubs, though. Good test for the Cubs starting off. I thought they really held their own. They should have won 2 out of those 3 games.
Yep.
They were really close to doing that. And then against Colorado, they are clearly the superior team. Assad pitched a gem last night. Looked great. Offense has started to come alive. Christopher Morel is off to a blazing start with the bat. Not the greatest with the glove, but his bat is a force.
Do you think Christopher Morel's offense is making up for his defense? Do you think it's outweighing it? Because obviously when you make an error, that taxes the pitching staff too. It does a lot to your team. But what he's bringing at the plate right now, I think it doesn't really matter. You want him in the field, but he's definitely DH worthy for sure.
I don't want him in the field. There are at least two better options that are on the current big league roster now.
Yeah.
And Christopher just needs to hit, and I don't think he cares as long as he contributes. He's not better or worse just because he plays the field. I think he's one of those guys who can separate himself. I think he's mature enough to do that.
I think he lost a little bit of concentration last year in the DH role because it's tough. It's tough to be engaged in the game when you're not going in the field, especially as a young guy. So if he can separate it, throw him at DH and don't think about it. I do think he has a plus arm. I do think outfield does suit him, but finding a spot for him in the outfield where you don't have a Gold Glover already in Bellinger, or I mean Suzuki's pretty good, and obviously Ian Happ. But I think it's tough when, again, half your roster is composed of Gold Glovers and you're trying to squeeze them in somewhere. But for now, his bat is well outweighing his glove.
Third base is way too important of a position for them to be booting the ball and making errors. Nick Madrigal has proven time and time again that if he's healthy, he can hold down third base well. He robbed Chris Bryant of a hit the other night, and it was a stellar play. He's worked on his arm. He's worked on his footwork. If he can stay healthy, I'm really confident in his defense at third base, and I'd even be confident in Michael Busch at third base over Morel.
Yeah.
Chris just
plate, but
Christopher just like there was a ball during that flurry of Rangers runs in the second game of the season where there was a line drive hit right at Morel and it went off his glove. I'm like, that right there, like it's just lack of concentration. The ball was hit 96 miles an hour, but you have to make that play. It's hit right at you.
Third base is incredibly difficult. And we've
seen
a lot of players make it look very easy, like Matt Chapman, Nolan Arenado. Chris Bryant, for the time when he was here, when he was healthy, was a really good third baseman. But yeah, learning on the fly, especially at the big league level, it's an unfair game. And Madrigal has done okay. If he starts hitting fly balls, you take him out of that lineup so quick because he has no power. So that was one thing I heard too, is like, as long as he's going the opposite way or putting the ball on the ground, I'm fine with him. The second that ball gets in the air, and Counsell told him straight out of the gate, he goes, you're not going to be the starting third baseman. So maybe he's kind of taking a different approach there too. But yeah, third base is incredibly difficult, and I'm not shocked he's having trouble reading it. It's just it's so incredibly hard. It's the game is so fast, but then it's also slow because you have more time to throw because it's the ball got to you right away, right? So I don't envy anyone at third base.
No. And to me it just speaks to how hard that Madrigal has worked on his game to make that shift. He's never been a third baseman in his career. He's always been a second baseman, shortstop type guy, middle infielder. Right. So for him to take those steps forward last year and to really continue them into this year, here, like you just mentioned, hearing from Craig right away that he's not going to be the starting third baseman, but doing whatever he can to get into the lineup. Defense is a very, very important part of this game. I think we're seeing a shift back towards making contact and putting the ball in play. So it's more imperative than ever now to have a rock solid defense and not have a hole in your lineup, especially at a spot like third base. So I'm hoping that one day the Cubs will address that position maturely, find a guy who can play the field and hit for some power, have some pop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really I'm pretty impressed with them so far, with what they've been able to do. I thought they held their own with Texas. Yep. They should beat the Rockies, but the Rockies are a pesky team. They do have the Dodgers coming up and another couple hard teams. So I think the key for them is going to be continuing to get into a rhythm offensively, kind of figure out Craig tinkering with the lineup, figuring out who belongs where, who should be in the right positions to hit and drive in runs, not strike out when they're hitting in the third slot. But I think the pitching is going to be the biggest thing, the starting pitching. Like, are we going to be able to get through innings? Is the bullpen going to get taxed because starting pitching can't get through innings? There's a lot of arms and a lot of guys who can go give you 6 on any given night. Yeah. So I'm hoping that Craig will be able to plug and play enough to where we're able to get a solid rotation in there.
Yeah. I do think this, and we saw this last year with the Cubs lineup, they're not as big on power numbers, but they're definitely there for contact, and they will get more hits. They may not get as many runs sometimes. But I think in these cold weather games, including playoffs, when you get to that point, you're not hitting the ball out at Wrigley when it's a cold night and the wind's blowing in, like it was for Shota Imanaga for his first start, who was lights out, missing bats.
Awesome.
But also did not record a ground ball out. Everything was a fly ball because I listened to Nico Horner every week, and he's like, he goes, I really didn't need to be on the dirt that day. I could have been playing Rover. That probably would have been a better use of my time. But he goes, yeah, it's fun to watch. But middle of summer, if he's still getting any fly balls, some of those fly balls might be going out of the yard, especially on those
Yeah.
hot summer days. We saw Dan Herring give up 7 home runs sometime. It happens. But it was really good to see the swing and miss from him. But playing to the situation, you need to put the ball in play. You're not going to hit the ball out on those days. So you need to hit the gaps. You need to hit line drives. You need to get guys around. I think this lineup is built more to do that.
Yeah.
Do you think there's been a manager win? Because they say there's like 5 or 6 games a year that are based on the manager. Do you think we've seen a Craig Counsell win or loss yet? I personally don't. I don't think so.
No.
I don't know if it really has made that much of a difference yet. We will see it. We'll see it at some point, just the way that he runs his team.
Yeah.
But I don't disagree with any of his bullpen moves yet, or that first game with Alzolay, like that just happens sometimes. Sometimes he'll let up a homer, and Drew Smyly is throwing 96. I like that. Like, I mean, they got a run off him, but like that guy starts on second base. So what are you gonna do? You should have scored him in the top half of your inning. So
yeah, I don't think there's been a manager win or loss yet for Craig. I think Shota's first start, that was a game where the offense really didn't do much. They kind of scratched and clawed, and they got 3 runs on an error when Morel hit a little league home run. He hit a solid single, but Nolan Jones overran the ball, and then he threw the ball away. So, but I think that was like a manager win, just sticking with the guys and aggressive sends and pushing this just the content piece of it. I would consider that to be the closest thing to a manager win that we have so far, was that first win, Shota's first win, opening day at Wrigley, which is the 5-0 win against Colorado. But yeah, I'm sure we'll see plenty of both. Hopefully, less in the loss column.
I think some of that comes from Willie Harris, though, too, at third base, and I've heard him talk about how he decides to go about, because he kind of has full autonomy to send guys, hold guys, steal bases, whatever. But he's made it very clear with he knows when guys are going to give him that extra and when he can send them go. Like, he's aware of the arms. There's so many things going on a baseball play. Like Jones overran that ball, but he stopped. I can't remember who was at third base. He stopped him because it's like, this guy's got a cannon. I'm not going to send you. We got guys in scoring position. I think it was
Happ they stopped.
Sure. Good speed, whatever. But he has a good arm, and they were going to hold him. So you're right. It wouldn't have produced 3 runs on that play. But yeah, he's got a pretty good feel for what's going on. And we've seen a ton of stolen bases so far in baseball. I think he's going to be super aggressive with the speed that they do have. For sure.
I think Willie is one of the best base coaches in the game. Yep. He's always been a student of the game. He's the pinch hit king. He's been around the game for a long time, and I've really usually you notice when a guy is good or a guy is bad. There's not really you don't want your guy disappearing, but you don't want to like Wendell Kim was Wavin' Wendell, and that was
the only name that was in my head. It was Wavin' Wendell Kim. It's like, he's going. Yep.
Yeah, but Willie Harris, I feel like you said, that's absolutely dead nuts on. He knows his players, and he's a student of the game as well. He knows the arms in the outfield. He knows that Nolan Jones has one of the best outfield arms in baseball. He's probably the best left field outfield arm in baseball. Bretton Doyle, their center fielder for the Rockies, has a cannon as well. So he's fully aware of those guys and what their capabilities are, but he has faith in his team. He knows that he's going to get that extra from guys like Nico, from Happer, from Bellinger. He knows what, and from Morel, he knows that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's good to have a guy who's invested. Knapp is another really good first base coach as well. They have a good. Hadavi's been a really good pitching coach too. So I think they have a pretty solid support staff, bench coaches and base coaches, and Craig inherited some pretty good guys too.
Yeah, well, and it's it's still early. This will kind of be the last bit from like the Cubs series, but Chris Bryant still doesn't have a hit. And he was one of those guys that we were kind of pointing like, hey, like he wants out of Colorado. Okay, you got to have a good start to your season. And it's still early, but he's only like one of like 6 or 7 qualified batters that doesn't have a hit yet. And that's probably not including like bench players. But one of the other guys on the list is Anthony Rendon. You don't want to be on a list with Anthony Rendon and Joey Gallo. No. And it was Bryce Harper was on there up till last night till he had 3 home runs. But this is not a good start for Chris Bryant, and he is striking out a lot. And teams in pennant races do not want guys who strike out all the time and can't get hits. So if he wants to get out of Colorado, you have a standing ovation now. You have one more than hits. So I would say get on it. I want to see him do well, so I want to see him be healthy so bad. He's turning into, he is a great player too. He was a great player very quickly. So hopefully he can turn that around. Just not until after the series is over. You can figure it out when you go back to Colorado.
Yes, we need a sweep here.
Yes. Another disappointment, just in baseball in general this week. Josh Jung fracturing his wrist. I think he got hit on the hand. Kind of just out of nowhere. But on the opening night, they had him mic'd up at third base. And that was really fun. I mean, ESPN, they do their own stuff, but like that was cool. He got 2 ground balls in the inning when he's mic'd up and he's talking the whole time. And he was a really good interview. I'm like, man, this guy's great for baseball. He had a great rookie year, came out of the gates hot. I think hopefully it's just a fluke thing and he comes back in 8 weeks and he's good to go. But I think we're going to miss Josh Jung getting a full first half here when he could have potentially been another all-star appearance.
For sure. And I think Brandon has a new guy in his favorite player list because you are not, and you never really have been a prospect guy. I've known about Josh Jung for a long time. And he really came on your radar in the playoffs and you're like, whoa, who's this guy? What is he about? And I don't know. It's cool. I'm glad that you're noticing and you're liking what he's doing. Like your guys really need to impress you and perform, unless it's like Prince Fielder, where it's like you're excited for him right out of the gates because you're seeing some stuff he's doing in the minor leagues. But yeah, this will be a huge loss. He is one of the great young stars in the game. He was hitting over 400. He was hitting bombs. He was playing great defense. He's a great dude. He speaks well. He's fun. He's knowledgeable. I also hope it's a fluke thing because the game is a lot better with Josh Jung in it. And hopefully it's on the short side of the 8 to 10 weeks, and hopefully he makes a full recovery. With hand injuries, you never know. It might take you a little bit longer to get the power back, but hopefully it's just it's a good. Doctors take care of him. He takes his time.
Yep.
He gets to full strength, and he's right back in the lineup with all those other stellar players that they have down in Texas.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Another more somber note too. Kind of flashed across the screen the last day or two was Larry Lucchino passing away, who was one of the architects of the Red Sox. Just interesting. I mean, as we start to progress into like the players that we saw are now becoming first base coaches, like, Bobby Crosby is now for the A's. And it's like, I remember when he was a prospect, we could probably go to any major league team and we'll see the first base coach. I think Hank Conger, I saw, was the first base coach for the Angels. I'm like, man, I remember when he was in the, the Shuckers or whatever for the low A. But like,
and in the futures game too.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
so just seeing that kind of stuff. But yeah, Larry Lucchino passing away at 78 was just like, I thought he was a lot younger, but no, I'm not as young as I used to be there. So yeah, definitely mournful for the Red Sox family, but appreciative of everything he did to win those championships as well. Yeah,
Larry was definitely one of the architects for those teams, and just a great guy in an executive role. Did the things that they needed to do when the team was at their best. I mean, I just feel like there's been a lot of a lot of terrible Red Sox losses in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Just not terrible as in just they're tough, because you don't want to see it, like Wake passing and again guys retiring and all that stuff. It's just been tough. It's been really tough being a fan, but all we can be is thankful for all that they did for this team and bringing them some championships to an amazing city and an amazing franchise.
Yep, absolutely. Everything's kind of flowing together tonight because when you talk about Red Sox losses, one of the best players in baseball right now is the biggest Red Sox loss I would say is Mookie Betts, and just how incredible he started this year. And how much fun it is to watch him play shortstop. But he is killing the ball. He hit one out of Dodger Stadium. You don't hit homers at Dodger Stadium at night. You just don't really do that. And he murdered the ball. But he is on a rampant pace. MVP. I mean, the team that the Dodgers have put together, you'd think all this money they spent in this offseason, that would be the players you're looking at. No, it's the guy who's been on the roster for the past 4 seasons and who's led them to a World Series already. He's on our radar all the time anyways, but how impressed are you with the start Mookie Betts is having, especially on the infield?
I wish I could tell you that I was surprised, but I'm not. As much as we detest the Dodgers and want them to not succeed, Mookie Betts is just somebody that I'm never going to be able to root against. I've been following him his entire career. During his minor league career, he's done amazing things for both teams that he's played for. He's an outstanding person. He is the guy that you root for every at bat, even if the World Series is on the line and your team is facing him, your team's pitcher's facing him. It's so hard to root against him. He's so skilled and so talented in everything that he does. He's so humble but so confident at the same time. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised with anything that he does. There's nothing aside from maybe if he pitched, that would surprise me a little bit. But he could do it. He could probably do it.
That wouldn't surprise me. It's just he definitely feels like the core to that lineup. And you think, oh, you add a $700 million bat in Ohtani, and he's kind of been okay. He hasn't been great so far. He's kind of just been doing what he was doing on the Angels, just hitting about 280, and we'll see what you get. But is there anything else about this? Like I feel like the Dodgers aren't that much better, other than Mookie Betts playing at this pace. I feel like the Dodgers aren't that much better, even though they've spent $1.3 billion on this.
Well, and Freddie, obviously. Freddie's another guy. Freddie and Mookie. Great
first baseman.
Freddie and Mookie, we might as well speak in the same breath, because it's the same. I feel the same about Freddie as I do about Mookie. Like, there's nothing that he does that I don't like. Yep. Again, great human being, great baseball player, both on offense and defense. Comes to work every day, ready to play. I can't root against Freddie either. I've never another guy who I've followed since minor leagues. With the Braves, just a great ambassador, great human being. But yeah, the Dodgers really, like, some of these key players that they signed, like, they're not making as much noise. I mean, Teoscar hit a big bomb the other night. Glasnow has pitched pretty good to start his Dodgers career out. But really the exciting stuff for me is coming within the organization, and the guy I want to speak about is Bobby Miller. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. So aside from Mookie and Freddie, the other people that I will root for are people who are from our hometown and our home area. Bobby Miller is a McHenry West pitcher, went to Louisville, pitched really well, got drafted in the first round by the Dodgers, has had a really stellar minor league career, got kicked off in the majors last year, kind of getting his bearings, but what he's capable of doing. And that first outing of this 2024 season was spectacular, dominant, like throwing 99 miles an hour and throwing this. He's been really throwing his changeup a lot more, and that thing just like darts away. He's got a nasty breaking ball. He looks dominant, and they need him to be dominant until Walker Buehler makes his way back and Clayton Kershaw makes his way back, if they want to continue to do well as a starting rotation. Bobby's got to be the guy following. I mean, not even following. I think he's even leading Glass now and leading Yamamoto. Yamamoto did have a nice second outing, a lot better than the first one, which was disastrous. But to me, Bobby's the difference maker here. He's got the makeup, he's got the size, he's got the toughness. I'm really excited to watch him pitch more.
Yeah. I'm not surprised when these guys come up and they're throwing 99 anymore. But the difference is the command, and he was locating that and changing eye levels. And like I said, Dodger Stadium can be a pitcher-friendly park, especially when that sun goes down. But it's a big stage too. I mean, there's a lot of intrigue into what the Dodgers are doing. There's a lot of expectation. So to come in and do that, I think of like Dustin May, how he kind of just hasn't panned out, but he's another big guy, big arm, but just can't stay healthy. So if he can come in here and be the prospect they need him to be, you're right. They have a lot of injuries and a lot going on outside of it. That's probably the one weak point of their team is pitching right now. But if he can come in and be a stable piece, he definitely has the stuff. And that was one of the things I noticed right away because I was watching part of that game and I was like, whoa, that guy is lighting it up. So that was probably the name I thought you were going to say, honestly.
Yeah. And I've been watching that guy pitch since he was 15 years old. I remember scouting McHenry West for Grant. Varsity coaches had me step away from my my JV coaching duties to go watch that team, scout that team. Fox Valley game. Bobby was a 15-year-old freshman on the varsity team and just blowing smoke. Right. It was very easy to tell that he was special back then, and it's cool to see him to do it at this level too. Just super cool.
Well, Nick Martini, another local guy, had a nice opening day too for the Reds. Haven't heard anything since, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Like I said, no one watches till the All-Star break, so it was cool that he was like one of like 3 Reds ever to hit multiple homers on opening day. So very, very cool. All right, well, we're gonna finish with a new segment that we're just gonna kind of every week as we're watching baseball. Let's call it the good and the bad. So, where do you want to start? You want to start good or bad?
Start good.
Good.
We'll start good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll start since I was making this segment. I'll give you a little time to peruse your.
Oh, I got it. I got it now. Since we already talked about some things that I wanted to talk about, but I've already pivoted. I'm loaded up.
So I was watching my newly acquired MLB TV, and it's great because it's like the old school baseball tonight that we all know and love from the 90s and 2000s. But I'm sitting there and they're just watching the games, and it's the Dodgers Cardinal game, and ground ball to the right side, and it was a tough turn. It was on Ohtani, who was running to first base, and Mason Wynn just throws. I don't know how fast he threw it, but they turn it. You don't double up Ohtani on a slow ground ball, and it was Mookie running to second. He was out. That's fine, but he just hammered this ball to first base. And again, there's a lot of games going on when they're doing this broadcast, and all 3 of them were just like, "Did you see that? That was incredible!" Like they're like, "Whoa!" And they like stopped. They rewind it. They replayed it like 12 times. They're like, "This is insane." But yeah, Mason Wynn, again, not a Cardinal fan. And we saw a little bit, like Jeremy was hitting on his arm. Whoa. And he's hitting a little bit right now, but he's got an absolute cannon, and that is a weapon. You can't really run fast. Like, we talk about how defensive players can pick up on when players are running faster. They can just throw a little harder. You can't run faster than you're running down the line. Like, Ohtani was running, and he just blitzballed him to first base, and it was very impressive. So if you haven't seen that play, I'm sure it's floating out in space somewhere. That's my good for this week.
And Ohtani's not slow either. No. And Mason Wynn is an elite arm, and I think everybody saw that. I would say on the big stage a couple years ago when he was in the Futures game. He made this throw from short. It must have been like 96 miles an hour. Like they clocked it. It was mid 90s. I think that throw might have been 90 or 91, but still incredible to do that from shortstop. And for him to stand out like that in a division where you have O'Neal Cruz and Ale De La Cruz at shortstop who have howitzers of an arm, and Mason Wynn is a young man doing the same thing. he might be the best shortstop arm in the league and
Yes.
in this division which has again O'Neal Cruz and Ellie De La Cruz have
Yeah.
howitzers and
Yeah.
Mason Wynn has even a better arm than them. So
And Dansby has better timing,
yeah,
but doesn't have that strong of arm. But just how accurate he was with that throw too, like it was dead on his chest. Like there was no like Javi had a great arm, but he was wild and chaotic.
mm-hmm.
Any throw I've seen Mason Wood have so far has been in the box where the first baseman should catch it. It's not all over the place, and he's very controlled with his 97-mile-per-hour fastball to first base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Impressive. I did not. I think I saw a play, but I don't think I saw the play you're talking about. There was another play where he like went in the hole and fired it across the diamond. I don't think it was that play.
No,
this was turning a double play.
This was turning a double play,
Yeah.
and he had to do it. You have some homework to do then, because it was. He's gonna make plays like this all year, but just jumped off the page.
Yeah. Okay. I will right after we get off here. I'll check that out for sure. My good, and this is really surprised me quite a bit because this area for this particular team was kind of the bugaboo last year. Somewhere they were not very strong, and at least so far this season they've been quite strong. I'm going to say the Red Sox starting pitching.
Yep.
They have gotten some incredible outings. 2 great starts from Nick Pivetta. Cutter Crawford and Garrett Whitlock and Tanner Houck making great starts, like shutout baseball, 1-run baseball. Brian Bayo had a decent game and a okay game, but he's a young man as well. But to get outings from Pivetta and Whitlock and Cutter Crawford and Tanner Houck, it's just crazy. Because they didn't do that last year. The Red Sox, not to say that those pitchers didn't do it at times, but it was just a very, very weak point in their team. And for it to be the strength this early on, I mean, they split a series with Seattle. And Seattle's not a slouch.
No,
Seattle's a good team.
They're a good team.
They're struggling a little bit right now, but for the Red Sox to go and take 2 games from them to start off the season. And then, I mean, now they're facing the Athletics, which it's not as difficult as Seattle, but still, I mean, for them to do what they're doing to start, that's really impressive. And then another one, just to say real quick, the Yankees have been pretty impressive. Just their
very impressive.
Yes, and to go into Houston and to sweep them at home, that's crazy. And
yeah.
I was listening to a podcast, and the name is escaping me right now, but it's a baseball podcast. Former Twins third baseman Trevor Plouffe is a co-host on the podcast. I need to figure out the name of it, but they were speaking about Juan Soto and how important Juan Soto has been to the Yankees, how he's already a leader in the clubhouse, especially to a lot of these younger Latin players who are on the team. He's a guy who is going to get money. He's going to get a lot of money in the offseason if he plays well. He's respected. He's playing really well. I think he's thriving on the big stage. I expect him to continue to do that. I would be probably not the first to admit, but I'm a little bit surprised the Yankees are where they are right now. I don't think they've pitched super great, but they have a good offense. But Soto's been right in the middle of that, and I think he's going to power their team this year.
When you play in New York, you have to play every game like it matters because it does. And the media is going to let you know. The fans are going to let you know if you're not playing well. Playing in San Diego, you kind of get lost in the shuffle, and no one probably really cares. I mean, the weather's so nice. When I went to that game, it's like, yeah, I'm just ready to go see the sunset and go to the beach. New York's an animal, and he's going to be ready, and he's so far been ready. He looks like prime 2019 Nationals winning the World Series Juan Soto. So, yeah, he's been very good so far, and I would think he's going to hit a lot more homers in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
The not so good Oakland, man. specifically Oakland A defense or lack thereof. The Oakland A's have made 13 errors already. They made 5 errors the first game against the Red Sox in a Major League Baseball game. 5 errors. I've never seen that number. I'm sure I have, but I don't remember it. That's a lot of errors. Nick Allen has 3 errors at shortstop already. You just can't live like that. You can't live with that many. Mark Kotze is going to lose all of his hair by the end of the season. They're missing cutoffs. They're overthrowing people. It's just really bad defensive baseball. And they're in these games. They're right there. It's just so many mistakes that you can't overcome them. It's hard to watch. Again, I'm watching it for a different reason, but it's really hard to watch poor defensive baseball. And that's something you can control for the most part. Like, you can't always control your hits, right? You can't always control your batting average. A lot of it's luck. A lot of it's whatever. You can control where your throws are going and where you're setting yourself up. Errors are going to happen. They just don't typically happen at this rate. And I don't expect this to be acceptable, especially for Mark Kotze, a guy who was a really good fielder in his own right. Every time they make an error or something goes wrong, they zoom right in on him, and he is furious. So that's something they really need to tighten up. I also think they need to go on the road because it's hard to play in an empty stadium. I feel really bad for the players in Oakland. It's just a horrible situation. Everything about it is bad. That's just the whole thing is bad. I feel really bad.
Yeah, and it for sure stinks because they have upgraded in so many ways. You have guys like Ryan and Zach Geloff who are poised to have another solid season, hopefully another solid full season. You've added veterans like J.D. Davis, the arms and Alex Wood and Ross Stripling. You got some really nice players, nice young reliever and Mason Miller, who is lighting up the radar gun and is getting national attention for the things that he's doing. But yeah, I mean, I just don't. This team, like, they have to minimize the mistakes, and we were kind of talking about this before we went on. We were referring to just defense in general, and that is one of the things that can keep you in ball games is to make the plays. And if you're not making the plays, that's the why you're there. That's what separates you from a double A player or a single A player is that you make the plays. You have to make the plays. Otherwise, there's going to be a guy to replace you. So I trust Kotz and I trust the rest of the coaches to make the right decisions. They set down Ruiz, which was kind of a surprise to a lot of us, but I think he's going to be making his way back up here soon. If the outfield can't make these plays, he's a solid defensive player. He goes and gets it. He's fast. He can steal bases. He's not going to be down there for long. They said he went down for an approach thing, like they wanted him to walk more. But it's like, listen, the guy can play defense and he can steal bases, and he hits enough. Then he's got to play.
They list him as a negative defensive WAR player, probably because of his arm. But you're right. He was probably their most dynamic player last season, especially with the stolen bases. And if this kind of stuff continues, he will be back before anything. But you can't win. You can't expect to win baseball games when you're making 2+ errors a game. So
no, it can't happen. They have to clean it up. These players who are making the errors, at least on the infield, they are too good to be making these mistakes. Yeah. So they just gotta. Maybe it's just some jitters to start the season. Playing in an empty stadium blows. Again, that's the worst part. Is that these guys deserve so much more. And what's going on there with ownership is just atrocious. I feel bad for the fans as well. They just need to get out from under this guy's thumb, and then I think they'll start to thrive again. We're not that far removed from really successful Oakland A's baseball. So hopefully, I know they'll continue to improve and they'll clean it up, but it's very it's disheartening right now.
They've gone 2 games in a row without an error, so they must have taken infield on Tuesday, or a really bloodbath infield. But yeah, again, just something that's you don't see very often, especially as a 5-error game. It's tough to watch.
Oh, let's see. A bad for me or a down for me right now. We kind of already talked about it. I was trying to think of something more located for a team, but I would say for sure Josh Jung getting injured. Again, off to such a great start. Just becoming more of a likable guy and a face for baseball. The more he gets covered nationally, him being out for a significant period of time really stinks because, and I know he'll do his best and work his way back, but it's like I want to see him light up the scorebook. I want to see him making plays. I want to see him doing what he does. And it sucks when you have like the way that we attract new fans and young fans to this game is by having younger players who have a personality and who also have the talent to back it up. And the more of those guys who are making their way up to the big leagues as fast as they are, the better. So yeah, Josh is one of those guys. Wishing him good luck in his rehab, and hopefully his if he's getting surgery or whatever the doctors are working on him.
Surgery. Yep.
He's getting surgery, so hopefully that goes successfully. Yeah. So that sucks for me, but I think a bright spot that could come out of this. There's a lot of younger guys who are knocking on the door and waiting for their turn to get to the major leagues for the first time. Jackson Holliday's coming. He's not going to be down there for very long. I think his first at bat in the minor leagues for the Norfolk Tide, he hit a bomb.
Yep.
He's got 2 homers already, 6 RBIs. He's hitting about 320. He's got over 1,000 OPS. I will stand by my statement I made a couple episodes ago. He will be up by May. He will not. He's not going to be in Norfolk for very long.
Baltimore started well. Again, we're only in week 1, but they've had a couple rough games in a row and not scoring many runs. So he may be a good spark. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean their infield, Mountcastle and
they're a good team. They're going to win
Henderson.
games.
They have good players, but they can find a spot for Jackson.
Yeah,
they can find a spot for him. He can play somewhere.
If you're hitting, they will find a home. That's for sure.
Absolutely, yes,
for sure. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to another good week of baseball. Hopefully, another 4 or 5 Cub wins, and just some more good, maybe not so much bad. But we will continue. Again, I think it's fun to look for both because they both exist in the game. I think it's just not calling it out, but just like, hey, like I saw this, and yeah, that's not the best thing ever. But until then, like I said, we'll just watch more games and let it come to us. But boots come in pairs. All right, guys, take it easy.
Peace.